Hey everybody, welcome to the October Forge in Eternum, where we do community Q&A. I'm here with Dave and Katie and Lovin, and we are going to get started, so bring those fun questions on.
First, I gotta ask, whose birthday is it today?
I don't know. Happy birthday, Katie K.
Thanks, everybody.
Don't be so excited.
Okay. There's no more whispering at the beginning of these. Everybody's in timeout.
Okay, well, now that we have that context, let's go into the other questions.
Can't believe Chuck didn't sing, just saying. He's back in the back.
Can we expect new artifacts in Heartroon in upcoming events and updates?
Well, good news here. We will definitely be introducing more artifacts each season. We'll be tying them to new content or events that come out. Heartroons, as we've discussed in the past, we are going to slow down on those. I think we've sort of hit critical mass there, and I don't think we're going to have them sort of come out every season anymore.
All right, well, when will the transfers open up so I can go play with my friends who just came back?
Yeah, so we review the active users on those populated worlds every day, and we're watching to see when that reduces, when we can open those up. So I can't give you an exact time, but I can say that's something that we're watching very closely, and those will open up as soon as there's space. I do want to call out that just because it shows that it hasn't reached the max population cap on the world, that does not mean that that world is not full. As I've mentioned before in other updates or other videos, NISA is one of those worlds where for a really long time it wasn't showing its population cap, but its active user base was 2 times every other world. And what we saw was we had to lock that world far in advance because it had long queues. So we're trying to avoid that with these other worlds. So we'll keep an eye on it. We'll let you know when they're opening up.
All right. Any plans to rework or remove the debuff resilience on mutations 2 or 3, reducing mutation levels and removing Ward's Banes, then artificially adding difficulty to a 5-man encounter by requiring certain builds for weekend Ren pretty much puts us back to square one for gear checks, and it removes a cool debuff exclusive to the Sandworm, which works a lot better since there's 20 people to work with. The bosses in mutations also have a base empowered level, so they're already still extremely dangerous, even if you hit this theoretical weekend cap after resilience is taken into account.
Can you repeat that?
It's a fair question. I think overall, no immediate change is planned. We've been taking a look at the data. M2 mutations have a very high win rate. I think we're seeing people do them pretty easily. I've pugged a few and made it through pretty easily. Obviously, it's even easier with the company. So I think, no real plans there. No plan changes. Let me try that there. M3 is definitely a bit harder. I think, it is intentionally made to be harder. Our goal was that the M3 level would be harder than M10. We like this mechanism of introducing difficulty versus just increasing health or damage. I think it spurs, diverse builds. It brings in different types of weapons to get the different status effects. So no immediate changes planned, and I think, M3 is going to be something that's going to be harder to do with pugs, and I think that's an understood thing. The good thing is the rewards from M2 get you just about everything that an M3 can in terms of gear score. You can still hit 700. It's just a different percentage. So I think it's okay that the M3s are very hard.
I think you need that difficult content.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right. Is there a plan of reducing the difficulty of Worm Raid from Season 2, or at least make the Devourer Heartroon obtainable through other methods?
So no changes to the difficulty planned here. We released it intentionally very hard. And our thinking is that as people sort of perfect their builds, we hit 700 gear score, they set up their artifacts, they sort of optimize, that increase in power for players will allow a wider player base to do the Sandworm.
Yeah, it's going to happen organically.
I think it's going to happen organically. But I do think, we're looking at putting the Heartroon somewhere else. It won't happen in the short term, but maybe in a season or 2 that'll come.
All right. Okay, this one I've seen a lot. When will we get a fix for the tent trolls that people keep posting up over the top of the quest? Makes it very hard to play the game when people are constantly doing it.
Yeah, so...
Oh, you're going to take it?
No, you go ahead.
Because I was going to say how I find the term trolls offensive. Actually, not just the term trolls, but the actual trolling is even more offensive.
Yeah.
Here's a hint on when we recorded this. Yesterday. It was fixed yesterday and released yesterday, so it's in.
Yep.
Okay.
what that guy said.
By the time you watch this, it will be fixed.
Yes.
I just wanted to get one answer in the whole show. You guys have been taking everything.
So it's a done thing.
It was in the release. It was in the minor that came out on the 17th.
Done deal. Okay. Do you have any plans to revisit the Sandworm raid and upscale it to make it relevant again? In Season 4, you're introducing mutated seasonal trials. Would be nice to see a mutated elite Sandworm trial as well.
It's an interesting question, especially since the previous one.
Can I just hop in before you answer? And say, if you ever wonder why we don't listen to your feedback, because everything's about half of the people want it one way, and it's like 49-51 quite often, and this is another one of those examples.
It is a good juxtaposition, though, because we often see this where a good percentage of the player base, and we'll call you casuals, you want to take part in these modes, and we totally understand that. But there's also these really dedicated players that want this really difficult content, and so we don't want to leave them out.
Well, I would also not just casuals, because you can play the game a lot and not be as good as other people, and I think we'll see about that. But I think it's like all play style. We should respect all play styles and try to support them. And it's easy to kind of get like, well, that's what they want. That's what they want. Our job is to try to find that balance. Anyway, so go ahead, Dave.
Wait, and I think we did that with Expeditions, right? When we introduced Season 3, we now have what we're calling like the story mode, which is for everybody, so you can take part, and then the mutations are for the harder stuff. So that's an example of us listening to player feedback.
I think the answer is sort of the same as the past question. No plan changes here. I think we think it'll get a little bit easier as people gear up, and then in the far future, we may consider up-leveling this, but that's going to be many seasons from now.
Well, can we expect a rework to Magnify? The current implementation makes it really bad for split stat builds.
Yes, we hear you. I think this is probably the most noticed question. We're hearing this a lot. I think there are no immediate plans to change Magnify. I think on the positive side, for more casual players, I think Magnify does offer a lot of benefit. It allows you to easily switch between some stats. And if you're not super optimizing, especially if you're not dual statting, it does have a lot of value. Also, like Magnify is one of the opportunities. There's also, you can get more specific gear if you're trying to min-max through the various crafting means and set your specific attributes. So. No immediate plans, though we hear you. So we're trying to come up with a solution that still provides some of the benefits to the more general audience that Magnify provides, while also helping out the split stat people. No immediate plans yet, but we're thinking about it.
Can you share any plans for optimization passes?
Right now, we're not ready to share those, but I can tell you that we have a pretty big initiative that we're going to be sharing with you in a few months.
Okay. All right, well, with new dungeons, time and time again, will it be possible to test if 3 dungeons available on mutations will be viable? Any plans to add more mutation perks, mixed elemental?
So we have some good news here. I think if you've seen the roadmap, we have cross-world expeditions coming. And I think once we have that, we're going to have the larger population pool. And I think we're planning on increasing the mutation count to 3 then. So that people can, especially now with artifacts and mutations, you can sort of get to them quicker and enjoy a larger set of mutations.
And we don't currently have plans to adjust the type of mutations, right?
No current plans for that.
Yeah, but that is something that we're continuously looking at to see what opportunities there are and then what actually fits in our development pipelines.
Yep.
Can we get a caster weapon that shoots bees? Thanks, I like bees.
I'm curious, this person must have a camera in our office, because we've been talking about this feature for so long. It's literally at the top of our feature list. Kidding, of course. No immediate plans. Sorry. The bee shooter, while it sounds fun, we do have the beekeeper.
I know, beekeeper is your favorite gear.
I was going to mention.
But a beekeeper would shoot smoke out or some kind of foggy thing, and not bees out of their gun.
Well, it's Eternum.
Think about the bees.
Azoth, you can
bees
do
don't want
whatever.
to be shot out of a gun. That's horrible. Have some.
You talk to the bees?
Have some heart. Care about our little animals, our little insects.
When bees die, do they repopulate on the island?
Yeah.
Yeah, right? Like
There
anything
aren't
else?
any bees.
Okay.
Well, there's some bees, but
I mean, there's the bees.
There's honey. There's got to be bees.
Yeah, I don't want to put them
that's
to
true.
a miserable death.
There are
just
the
'cause
little
they're gonna-
beehives, that's true. That you gotta smoke.
Okay. I think we're good on this. Let's move forward. What happens if artifact drops in a bag and you are unable to pick it up? Because I have been farming Pugnacious Purutu for 40 hours now, and I cannot get Life Taker. I believe it may be bugged.
So the way that it works is if it drops and you don't pick it up, it doesn't count against your loot limit. So you'll still be able to farm it and find it. However, there is a bug right now. So if that happened, if it dropped and then you had a crash, then it did count against it. So that's something that we are currently working on. We'll have a fix out as soon as we can. But that's the only situation in which it would count against your loot limit.
Well, what will you do to address the missing 20 free Battle Pass levels, Fast Pass, for people who have maxed the Battle Pass?
Yeah, so at the time of this filming, that has been, those 20 levels that folks lost have already been provided back to them. If you were already at a high level and you weren't able to benefit from those passes that you purchased, you're going to get another box, essentially, that you'll use next season. And I think it's going to be called like Season 4, something that's very clear. It'll show up in that compensation area of the game menu, and that will have your 20 levels in it. So you'll get to use it for the next season.
Okay, awesome. Are there any plans to add more gear set slots?
Right now there aren't. We recently removed Banes and Wards, and that created a scenario where we think you're going to need a lot less slots, and we didn't want to start messing around with that until we saw some data and watched what the players were saying. So we'll look at it again in a few months, but right now there's no plans.
All right. When can we expect fixes for named items which are unupgradable in Kiln?
They should be in our next patch, which is tentatively scheduled right around Halloween. So we're working on it.
Yeah. Any news on the next dev update?
Shortly after the next patch. We're not sure yet, but it should be early November.
That's all the questions I got. You got any questions for yourselves? No, you're good?
What are you doing for your birthday?
I'm going to take a nap.
What are you doing for her birthday?
I'm going to bake her a cake.
Perfect.
What are you doing, Scott?
I'm working diligently.
He already texted me happy birthday.
Yes, that was
It's the peak of managers wishing you a happy birthday.
I didn't text it, I slacked it, but let's be truthful here. And I Facebooked it, by the way. So double.
Oh my God.
All right. I think we're kind of at the extent of this one. So with that, we will see you in a tournament. If you like what you saw, let us know on Twitter,
X,
oh, snap.
TikTok, Facebook, Reddit, YouTube, any of those great places. We'd love to hear that you liked it. Otherwise, thanks a bunch, and we will see you very soon in a tournament.
In a tournament.